Welcome to Old Stuff Show. Today we're having the Elvis special. This is a very interesting show talking about Elvis Collectibles, which is very popular today. There's lots of it around, and I'm going to share some of it with you and tell you a few stories at the same time. It brings up the question, though, why do people collect? And there are many reasons. One being that they like the enjoyment of it, just the fun looking around. They like the particular category they're looking for, and they're trying to get as much as they can and as many different items as they can. And some, for monetary reasons, they think that the value will increase over time and it's a good investment. But in all cases, really the challenge is to find the next treasure. So there's two kinds of situations with collecting. One is I would define as the narrow category, one that's very hard to find. I would give you an example like old compasses. I know some people that collect compasses, but those are hard to find, and it's a challenge, and those people enjoy that challenge. Others, they're looking at a wide category where a lot of these items were mass-produced and readily available, like Coca-Cola, for example. But all they're trying to find is another one item that they don't have. So in both cases, it's fun and it's a challenge. So Elvis Presley collectibles fall into the second category. There's lots of it out there, but whoever's collecting it is looking for something different to add to their collection. One of my favorite people, an Elvis collector, is a lady who comes to my flea market booth in the summer on her motorcycle and is very anxious to find out if I've found another item for her. And I'm always looking, and she's always willing to buy and encourages me to find some more for her. So it's fun, and it's a great way to meet people and look for things for everybody at the same time. So in the case of Elvis, why is he such a popular collectible? Well, there's so many reasons, really. If you think about his background, first of all, he was born January the 8th, 1935, and he died August 16th, 1977. So that's a short period of time, and in that short period of time, he really accomplished a great deal. So I've got a few things here. It's just really the tip of the iceberg. Just give you a little bit of an idea of a few of the collectibles that are available out there. One my favorite item that I sold, and it was to the lady I was just telling you about, is the bust that I got, an Elvis Presley bust. It was a plaster bust, and it was kind of different, and as soon as she saw it, she snapped it up right away. And so those are a little more money than some of the paper collectibles that you find, but it was fun to be able to find that for her. One of probably the most popular things that are out there, the most common thing would be the photographs, 8 by 10 inches in particular. So I've got lots of those. Got the big one back here, which is kind of neat, but most people are looking for something a little smaller. But anyways, that was available, and I thought it was a good reason to buy it. So I'm going to show you. I'll just have a little bit of fun with you here. We've got a few photographs which I'll show you, and then maybe I'll guess at what one I think most of you would probably choose. So why don't we do it by numbering this, and so I'll just show number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have a framed one which we'll call 6. And so I'm asking you to choose the one that you think you would like the most, and then I'll tell you what I think you might choose. So we'll just go back again just very quickly. That's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Which one do I think most of you would pick? I'm probably very, very wrong, but I was kind of thinking that maybe this one here. That seems to be an interesting one with the guitar and his smile and so on. He's a younger Elvis at that time. So, I don't know if you picked that, but anyways, whichever one you did pick, that's as good as any, I guess, right? So, I don't know if you recall hearing about, or even some of you watching, the controversy of Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. Ed Sullivan Show was a Saturday night variety show on TV, and he would have many, many entertainers and performers, and he had Elvis on. So the third show, I believe it was the third show, when Elvis came back, the censors decided that the camera could not show him only above the hips. They couldn't show him below the hips, and I guess it was because of his swivel hips. And some people at the time thought that that was kind of immoral, and it kind of has a comment on the social values of the time. It was a pretty innocent and tame society at that time, and in music, it was very tame. So I think the popular song at that time, before Elvis came on the scene, was "How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?" So that kind of tells you what kind of social values these people had at that time. But Elvis and others changed that very dramatically. So yeah, the photographs are interesting, but there's so many other things. There's, for example, I have in my collection here the Elvis plate, collector's plate. Some of these are for sale on my eBay site. This would be. And a lot of, this one is called Heartbreak Hotel. There were a lot of people who, in all categories, collected plates, thinking that they would go up in value, but as it turned out, they were disappointed they did not. Another item which is part of the collection process would be calendars. Like, I use this one on one of my thumbnails. It's not that old, but it's got some pretty nice pictures of Elvis, and so people, they would buy it for the pictures, if anything. And then we have a smaller version. This one is a little older. This is 1978. And again, the centerfold with this picture, and then each month had pictures of Elvis as well. So people, you know, any place they can to find photographs is one of the goals of the serious Elvis collector. Also, collector cards. Collector cards, like, you know, in packages that had bubble gum in them. So there were a lot of this type of thing in many different formats. But people who liked Elvis just couldn't get enough of them, and so cards like that came upon the scene, and you could collect them, and sometimes there were 30 or 40 in the set. So I thought I'd do another little challenge for you here. I'll show you some collector's cards and see which one that you think would be your favorite. So here's one we'll call number 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so if you were collecting that set and you had your favorite card, I wonder which one it would be. I'll take a guess here in a sec. I'll just show you them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, which one do I think you would choose? I'm just guessing, but I have a feeling maybe you would choose this one of him in his leather jacket. And this one was from a concert in 1968. And actually there's another card here showing him in a similar outfit playing pool, maybe in Graceland, which he bought when he was only 22 years old, I discovered. So he got rich at a very young age. Record albums, as far as records, before he went in the army, he was making singles mainly, and then after, I think it was 1958, and then after that, when he came back, he started to do albums, and also he did movies when he came back. So I've listened to Elvis in many different formats. I showed you a tape or an example of an 8-track tape, and he has songs on 8-track tapes, the typical 1950s 45s, and then the long play albums, 33 1/3 albums. The serious album collector, they look for the oldest ones and the original ones and in good condition. So many that came out later were kind of albums that were kind of creating a memory of him. So then this is an Elvis record, an album that was 1973. And this is well-known Christmas album. And this one just a little older in 1970. And then you have albums that are kind of like the souvenir type albums. This is Elvis on stage. Then you get into sets, like this particular set has 4 records, and it's worldwide 50 gold award hits. And again, it's just a compilation of songs put on these 4 records. And this one too, we're talking about a memory edition of Elvis's hits. So, like I said, the serious collector is looking for something that's original and in good shape. And what I mean by in good shape, scratches are not something that the serious collector wants to include in their collection. So they might even wait until they find a better copy of the album. But in today's world, I believe the record player and the long play albums are coming back. So it's good to hear, and people say that the sound is actually better than the CDs. So that could be true. Yeah, so songs are, it's interesting. He had 18 #1 hits, and the top three hits in the U.S. In North America, #1 was Don't Be Cruel, and #2 was All Shook Up, and #3 was Love Me Tender. So those are quite well-known hits rather, from way back. So I mentioned that he was into films as well. He made 31 films. I had no idea that he had made that many films. And the top 3 grossing films, #1 was Loving You in 1957, and GI Blues in 1960, and this one, Viva Las Vegas in 1964. And this is a framed copy of cardboard type material. This is a paper type material, the same movie. Elvis and Anne Margaret, who was very popular at that time as well, made that together. So there's a lot of neat things that you can find. In fact, there's so much that you probably have to pick and choose. But some people want it all. If they see anything different, then that's what they're going to try and go for. I think people collect Elvis because they like his music, plus they like him, and just having a souvenir is great to add to a collection. If any of you have been to Graceland, you know that you can buy anything there from keychains to photographs. So there's a lot out there, and that's what the Sears collector's trying to get. There's a smaller version too of some of the photographs, like the 4x6. This is actually a postcard, and that's a pretty nice picture of Elvis. And same here, this is a postcard. So, like I said, it comes in all formats, in many different formats. So, I don't know if you're a music collector, but you could do the same for any group. You can do the same for the Beatles. You can do the same for the Rolling Stones. You know, they're all collectible items out there for any individual singer or group. But it seems that the 50s stands out for many reasons because it was a big change. Elvis changed things, and then the Beatles changed things dramatically. And so in those days, people started to collect even way back then. I did meet a lady one time who was a very serious Beatles collector, and she had just about everything, and I did buy the collection from her. She didn't need it. She needed the money more than the collection at that time as she had grown up, but she was a groupie and followed them when they were in Toronto, wherever they went. Elvis collections. If you haven't started a collection and you want to start one and you like Elvis, this is a great one to start off with. I just want to say as we close out here that I appreciate your support. Please like and subscribe. That helps a lot, and we made improvements to our programs thanks to my editor Steve. And if you see anything that's on here that you are interested in purchasing, my eBay site is Lonrem, L-O-N-R-E-M. If it's not on, just send me a message through the comments, and I'll get it on right away. And just remember that we do we add a different program every Friday, and I'm really happy with the way we've been improving things. So all I can say then, and are you ready for this? Thank you very much. Don't be cruel.